This is one of the things that they say, people that have been abducted. I had Travis Walton, this guy.
I've seen. I've watched it.
His bobblehead.
Yeah, I've watched
He's
it.
very compelling in his descriptions of his encounter with these beings. But one of the things that he was saying was they were talking to him, but it wasn't with words. Like they were communicating with him, and he understood what they were saying, but it wasn't. They weren't saying things in a like, "Hey, Travis, why don't you relax? Because we're here from planet fucking whatever it is."
The information was flowing faster because it was like boom right away. What I think, you get it.
Yes,
right?
they were explaining things to him in some sort of a telepathic way.
Wow,
and it was mind blowing to him. And I think that that's probably the future of communication. Just like you can transmit information from phone to phone, right? You can call people. They're nowhere near you, but you can talk to them. You can send a video to someone. It's going through the air. It's just data, right? It's just information.
Do you think Travis and Bob Lazar and all these guys that have extraordinary claim believe what they are telling you? I don't know if what they believe is true, but what do you think they believe what they are telling you in a way that they're not lying, they're telling the truth of what they're believing?
I can't tell for certain, but I believe Bob Lazar. I believe what he's saying is true. I believe he's telling me. Now, Bob, he had one moment where he was passing by a window and he said he saw something that was small and these people were standing over it, and he didn't know if it was an alien or whether it was some sort of a form that they were trying, like a doll or something that's supposed to represent the size of an alien or some sort of a model of an alien. But he remembers he looked briefly through a window and he saw something small. He didn't see it move around. He didn't see it talk. So he doesn't know what he saw. Yeah. Because in his world, as he explained it, when he was working at Area 51, Site 4, that's where he worked. He said that it was very compartmentalized. And his thing was one of the problems with them trying to figure out, now this is assuming he's telling the truth.
Yeah, of course.
One of the problems they were trying to figure out was how to back engineer these devices, these ships. But the problem was they weren't allowed to communicate with other people outside of this very limited group of people that had access to these vehicles, and the people that were involved in the metallurgy were not allowed to communicate with the people that were involved in whatever the propulsion system was. They didn't understand what they were trying to decipher these things. But he said, and if you listen to the podcast that I did with him, that it didn't work because the scientific method requires multiple people to communicate and share ideas and explain, and they didn't do that.
You can't improve like that.
Right.
You need to share idea.
Right.
You can't do something and compartmentalize everything.
But my communication with him, I don't know if he was telling me the truth, but he didn't seem deceptive. And he's a brilliant guy.
It's clear he's clearly like borderline genius. You hear him speak, he's very educated.
And some of the things that he talked about came to fruition. Like one of the things was there was a concept of this thing called element 115, right? Yeah. Now that was not really proven until the 2000s, or somewhere in the 2000s. They used a particle collider and created this thing where it was a very unstable, very short-lived particle. But he was saying that wherever these beings are from, they have figured out a way to utilize a stable version of this element 115, and that's how they propel themselves. The things that he was describing were also exactly the same things that were experienced by Commander David Fravor, who was a guy who is a jet pilot.
I saw, yeah.
Yeah, and so he experienced this thing move in that same direction, that same way, where there was no visible propulsion system, but they tracked this thing going from 80,000 feet above sea level to 1 in 1 second. So that's the amount of time that it takes radar to track this. So it might have been less than a second.
Yeah,
this thing traveled from 80,000 feet to 1,000.
No time.
To 1 feet.
It's like that thing with the hand. He says he measured the distance between the bone and when you get in, you put your hand in it and measure the distance between your bone and the...
the scanner.
Yeah.
Yes, the scanner.
There is a lot of things like this. And, like Zachariah Sitchin was, like there's a lot of stuff that you can think of that how could they know that at the time? But it's
well, the Zachariah Sitchin stuff is interesting, right?
Yes.
That's all the Sumerian text. The Sumerian text is some fascinating stuff because it's all from 6,000 years ago. And by the way, Zachariah Sitchin, he's very controversial. There's even a website called sitchiniswrong.com, and it's basically scholars of ancient Sumerian who say that his translations are completely off. But even if his translations are off, there's still a lot of really confusing stuff about ancient Sumer. And one of the things is their depictions of the solar system. They had a depiction of the solar system 6,000 years ago that shows the sun in the center, and it shows all of the known planets in the outside, and they're relatively accurate in terms of the size.
Yeah, and how about the formation of the Earth? Tiamat, Marduk. I don't remember which one is what, but that's
the formation of the Earth.
That's the model that we use today.
Well, the scientists...
The asteroid belt, that's the model that we use today. How did he know that at that time?
I don't know how they knew that. When you're saying it's Earth 1 and Earth 2, and what that means is that there was an original version of Earth, and then Earth was hit by another planet at some point in the distant past, and that's what created the moon, and that's also what created the asteroid belt.
That goes on the different direction than the rest of the planet. Like they knew that too.
Well, there's also a thing called Bode's law, and Bode's law measures the distance between planets, and it's based on the mass of the planet, and they figure out, because of the mass of the planet, how far these planets are from each other. And one of the things that fucks that up is the asteroid belt. I think what I might be wrong about this, but the distance between Mars and Jupiter is one of the things that screws that up, and they think that's explained by the asteroid belt, that some collision created this asteroid belt and created all of the... I mean, there's something like 900,000 known near-Earth objects that were created by the impact of these planets.
One thing I believe, and I'm sure you're the same because you had a lot of these guys on your podcast, like Graham Hancock,
yes.
Randall Carson, Jonathan A. West. Like,
yes.
There's clearly knowledge that we've lost in the past. Like, this is for sure. Like, just think about the Library of Alexandria.
Yes.
Man, imagine the knowledge that it was in there before it burned.
I know. Imagine.
Oh, man.
Imagine.
People thinks we lost like 1 millennia, like just when it burns. That of knowledge, medicine, botany, science. It's just crazy to think of. So very often, sometimes when crazy stuff happen like that, like I just think that perhaps they had knowledge that there's knowledge that we lost. Like just think about the Greek fire. It's a weapon that was used in the naval battle, and it's really really known about historian. You can research. They still don't know exactly how it works, but it was so destructive. It was like, at the time, it was like a secret weapon. Like they didn't want to share. And it was known to be very efficient in naval battle.
I don't know what that is. I don't know about
Greek fire. If you go Greek fire, you'll get it. Boom. It was used in naval battle. So they used to throw fire, flames. And they used to, people that are burning, they still burn in the water. So they think it was made with some kinds of petrol or they still don't know. They cannot recreate it. And it's clearly something that a lot of historians have talked about. It's called Greek fire. It's just an example that it's clear that it's a technology that we have lost.
Well, if you just look at the pyramids, the pyramids are a perfect example of technology lost. It's almost like the best example. Like those ancient civilizations almost letting everyone know, hey, there is information that we have that's so above and beyond what's expected of people from this era. Yeah. Because if you think about people that lived 2,500 BC, you don't think about someone that had the kind of proficiency to create something that, when people don't understand, it's not just that the pyramids were big, but they were so perfectly designed that when they put all the stones, they reached the top. Like if anyone was off by even a half an inch at the bottom, as time went on, an inch here, an inch there, by the time they got to the top, it would be all fucked up. It wouldn't be perfect. But the pyramids were so amazingly perfect, and they were originally covered in smooth limestone. So smooth, polished limestone that would probably be insane to look at if you were staring at it from a distance. Like this immense structure of 2,300,000 stones, some of them cut from quarries hundreds of miles away, all perfectly aligned and put together by these people that lived thousands and thousands of years ago.
You know, most scholars would say that they use a ramp, but if you think about it, like there's other scholars that would counter that by saying the construction of that ramp need to be in an angle that it could be so difficult to do that it will challenge the construction of the pyramid itself, you know?
Well, again, it's like maybe they use a ramp. I don't know what they used.
Yeah, we don't know, yeah.
But whatever they used, it's so amazingly precise that they were able to make this 2,300,000 stone structure. This still to this day. I haven't been, but I have friends that have gone. Like my friend Andrew Schultz just went. Danica Patrick, the race car driver, she told me she just went. People that I know that have been. My friend Eddie Bravo, when he went, he's like, you get there, you're like, what the fuck? Yeah. It's so big, apparently.
It's like an awakening.
Yes, that our idea of what it is, when you see it in a photograph, it looks incredible. But I guess I need to go, because I guess when you see it in person, it's just like a complete reset. Like it recalibrates what people are capable of, because you have to think like, man, this is 4,500 years old.
Think about Darren Kuyu, Gobekli Tepe.
Yes,
man, it's
Gobekli Tepe's 10,000 years older.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's like 12,000 years old. You know, like
at least.
Like, how do you conceive that? And sometimes what happens is that it gets infected by other civilization that passed there after that construction. So they think they are the one that built it. I think is it Pumapunku, the one that there's clearly two different technology. You see the stone are perfectly aligned with perfectly cut. Then you have other stone that are just on top, like it's like a butcher's job, you know. And it's clearly not the same technology, the same people that built these two layers, you know.
Right.
So
well, that was also John Anthony West's concept of Egypt, that there's multiple eras, and that if you go deeper, like some of the stuff that they found when they dig deeper in the sand was a different construction method. It looked different designs, but still equally complex and fascinating. It's like there's probably many eras of human civilization, and there's probably been whatever it is, whether it's disease or some sort of a natural disaster or something that happened. Asteroidal impact was John Anthony or was Randall Carlson's and Graham Hancock's. That's their theory. Is
12,000 years ago, at the end of the Pleistocene era.
Yes.
But Homo sapien is date to 3,000 years old. So imagine
how many?
3,000.
No, Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens 3,000.
I think it's older than that. I think it's several hundred.
300,000. Sorry.
Oh yes.
300,000. Sorry, my English.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Homo sapien is 300,000 in Morocco. I'm 100% sure. That's why I read about this kind of stuff.
I think they think it's somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah. But so if you take that 300,000. 300,000 time for an evolution.
Right.
Why would it be only in the last 10,000 years that we would,
invent such immense structures?
It's kind of strange. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's also we're so different from all the other animals. Like we're the only animal that wears shoes. We're the only animal that wears clothes. We're the only animal that really manipulates its environment the way we do. I mean, other animals think, bees make beehives and shit like that, but they don't do anything even remotely interesting in comparison to what we're capable of doing and what we have done for thousands and thousands of years. And why? One of the things that Bob Lazar said that he was taught when he was at Area S4, at Area 51 S4, was that one of the things that they were telling him was that human beings are the product of accelerated evolution, and that these creatures occasionally come back to check upon our progress. And yeah, which is crazy.
Wow.
But that might be how it works throughout the universe, is that these beings that are very far advanced, they come back and they see these creatures that are pretty close, and they give them a little boost. They push them ahead a little bit, because otherwise it would take so long. And maybe we don't have the amount of time because of the fact that we're in this fucking shooting gallery of asteroids, that these things come down and whatever progress you make is wiped out by impacts or by supervolcanoes.
It's crazy, but it's not that crazy. If you look at the belief of human being through evolution, like in ancient Greek, they believe in they were believing in different gods, like in different times, different civilization had different belief. Now some people believe Jesus walked on water, which is fine too. That's their belief, If you believe that human was, the result of alien beings, it's another belief, Like
it's not.
Everybody believe in different things.
It's not that crazy if you think about what